verse it says, "When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, 'I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life.'"
Yeah.
Amen.
So when the pastor asked me to speak in front of everyone on Sunday, I was freaking out and I didn't know what to say. He told me to give a testimony and I was like, I'm only 15, I don't have anything to say. But when I got home, I started praying and I was like, God, give me something to say. And of course I went on on my phone and I saw this one verse on my Facebook, and I saw it and I love this verse. And it reminded me of something that happened like a year ago with me. It has a lot to do with teenagers and most of the kids here, so my word is mostly for you guys. Most of the times, because we go to school and we see people who don't worship God, who are like out of, in the world, and sometimes we think of what their life is like. Sometimes we're like, we want to experience it, and I went through that. Like a year ago, I didn't really care about I didn't really care about the church, and I was like, I'm going to experience what the world is like. And I didn't leave church, but I also wasn't here. It was kind of like what the pastor preached last week. I wasn't hot and I wasn't cold, I was in the middle. And I used to go to school and I would get invited to parties and stuff like that. And I would lie to my parents and I would tell them that I was going somewhere and I wasn't. And after about a month doing that, I went to my one friend, my best friend, she invited me to go to this party, but she's also a Christian. And she told me that she wanted to go because it was her friend's birthday. And she called me to go. And when we got there, as soon as we walked in, there was drinks and there was drugs everywhere. And there were no adults there. There was only teenagers, about 14, 15, 16 and over. And they were all crazy and dancing and a bunch of things were going on. And this was only when I was standing at the door I could see this. And when you're about to walk in somewhere and you know it's not a good place and you're like, I don't want to go here, but the bad part of me was like, let's go. And I walked in. And just by walking in, I was already shaking. I was freaking out. I was like, this is not going to end well. And I was like, I shouldn't be here. And there was this voice telling me, you need to get out of here. You need to get out. And I was like, oh my God, I need to leave this place. And I called my mom, and she came to pick me up. Me and my friend left. And then I found out that 2 minutes later, the cops showed up, and they were all arrested. And if I was there, I would have been arrested and grounded for life. So, and after that day, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to go back to church, and I don't want to be here. Because as soon as you walk away from God, you feel empty. You feel like there's something missing in your life. You can have everything. I had so many friends. I had, every weekend I had somewhere to go. I had everything that I wanted, but I felt so empty. So empty because I knew all that was going to pass. Yes. And when I came back to church, as soon as I got here, it was like everyone was speaking for me because everything was going to me. And Luciana started singing "Break Every Chain." I love that song. And I started to cry, and I didn't know why I was crying. And I went to the bathroom to clean myself up. And when I came back out here, I think it was the pastor who was preaching, and he said this verse, but he wasn't preaching, he just said it, and it just stuck with me. Because when you're not with God, it's like you can have everything you want, but you're walking in darkness. You can't see the light, and you don't feel as good as when you're with God. I feel bad for the people who are out there because they can't feel what we feel. And this is why we should bring them. Because when we're in here, we feel something strong, we feel something better. We can see the light, we can follow the light. And I've always heard this, ever since I was little, I heard that God's path is narrow and long. But it's worth it because when you get there in the end, you're gonna have a life, eternal life with happiness and everything, and it's worth it. It's better than going to a short, large path and suffer for the rest of your life. It's not worth it. So I leave this for all you teens and kids that don't ever leave the path of God because it's worth it.